This is the era of shared universes. The Marvel Universe was the catalyst that sparked a ridiculous surge of franchise movies, such as The Fast and the Furious, Star Wars sequels, Jurassic World, and a Harry Potter spin-off. Marvel's arch-enemy DC even started their own universe. All of these franchises have been successful at the box office, making billions of dollars for their respective companies. And this medium doesn't look like it's coming to an end anytime soon. And in the midst of these franchises, there was one diamond in the rough waiting to be found, the monster genre. And who better to revitalize this genre than the world's biggest movie star? In the 1930s, Universal produced a series of classic horror monster movies which were extremely successful. They featured creatures that by name are still well known across the world. The Invisible Man, The Mummy, Dracula, Frankenstein, and into the 50s, the sequels of these famous creatures were rehashed just like today. These movies eventually died out, but the emergence of these franchise movies sweeping the box office once again saw the opportunity from Universal to revive its beloved monsters onto the silver screen once more. It would be called the Dark Universe and would feature big-name actors playing all the classic monsters. But it all went wrong after the release of their first movie, The Mummy. Who knew putting a franchise into the hands of a Scientologist could go wrong? The story of The Mummy starts with the backstory of the villain, Princess Amenet, a warrior who is the sole heir to succeed her father as pharaoh. When her father's second wife gives birth to a boy, her succession will be desecrated. So she does what any normal person would do when crazy for power. She summons the god of death, Anubis. No? Okay, my mistake. She summons the god of war, Set, who makes a pact which will allow him to have a body of his own when Amenet kills her lover with a magic dagger. And now I'm confused as to what her motive is. She just wanted the boy out of the way so she can rule Egypt. Why did she need to embark in dark magic in the first place? She killed the boy and her father with the magic dagger, but it could have been done with a common knife. What was the point of summoning a god if you've already killed your enemy in the most non-supernatural way? And surely the dark magic would have enabled her to rule Egypt by disposing her father and his son without Amenet being a suspect. But she's caught anyway.
Amenet was mummified, alive.
Yeah, that's not what mummified means. She was buried alive, but not mummified. It's a whole process of extracting the moistened organs to preserve the body from decaying. We are introduced to our hero by the name of... I forgot his name. Let's have a look here. Ah, it's Nick Morton. You know what, this is not a character. It's just Tom Cruise playing himself. There is no Nick Morton. Tom Cruise is a sergeant and his friend is a corporal. They're in Iraq as soldiers conducting reconnaissance of a small village. But Cruise is somewhat of a rebel and is really here to find treasure.
Slip in, slip out, just like we always do. You son of a bitch! Oh my god!
This was probably the only time I actually found amusing that was also intentional. It reminded me of the charming wit of the Indiana Jones saga and the swashbuckling humour of the Mummy franchise with Brendan Fraser.
I was told you boys are supposed to be 100 clicks from here!
And now I'm instantly bored. Whenever the military show up in what's supposed to be an action-adventure blockbuster, I can't help but think of the soul-destroying military characters in the Transformers franchise.
Except instead of hunting for the enemy, you hunt for antiquities. Stealing whatever isn't nailed down and selling it on the black market.
Wait, so he's in the military, going against the colonel's orders, and then stealing antiquities and selling them on the black market? I'm pretty sure that's a federal crime. He should be court-martialed and in jail, but instead all he gets is a slap on the wrist. No wonder the American military is so incompetent. They recruit thieves and criminals. You know who else loots antiquities and sells them on the black market? ISIS. Yep. So Tom Cruise is basically doing what a member of ISIS would do in this movie. But he's American, so I guess it's fine.
Then we're moving up. You're getting in the hole with her.
Why? Arrest them! They've just committed a felony. The humour in this movie is like watching a balloon deflate. I don't know if it's the writing or Cruise's performance that causes this, but the tone felt so bizarre to add comical scenes. And they came at such strange moments. Oh, he's naked. That's funny. Let's try and force this scene to be as hysterical as Tom Cruise's attempt to start a cinematic universe. Alright, so Cruise accidentally frees Amenet after shooting a chain. I can see the Colonel already regretting this. How did she get freed exactly? Well, the sarcophagus she was in is held in mercury to weaken the evil magic of Set's power. So if you ever want to know how to face off evil spirits, just repel it with some mercury. Unfortunately for Cruise, he is also cursed as Amenet chooses him as the one to be the vessel for Set to take control of. Also, his stupid friend is cursed after a spider, yes, a spider, bites him and turns him into a zombie. He dies, becomes cursed as a ghost after a really dull sequence of a plane crashing scene that should have been terrifying in theory, but instead we just got this.
Me talking to you, I said what?
Cruise is supposedly killed in the crash, but is brought back to life since he has been deemed the chosen one by Armanet. Makes sense really. It's almost as if that Mercury never had an effect on subduing her power at all. How am I supposed to take this movie seriously when you've cast the guy from New Girl as a ghost haunting Cruz in the most idiotic way? This is intended to be scary, but it ended up like Scary Movie. And when it's being really serious, it just gets so boring. There's no excitement, every shot is so dark you can't even see what's going on. This film is just failing at every scene. It's trying so hard to capture the feel of a horror film, but it's trapped in the cliche of a modern action blockbuster. It's Mission Impossible with The Mummy, minus the quality. Let's talk about Tom Cruise's love interest, Jenny, who, like every other Tom Cruise movie in the last decade, is once again half his age and has zero charisma. The chemistry between the two are lifeless. Every time there's a dialogue scene involving the two, I feel like I'm falling asleep. Jenny isn't really a character, she's just an exposition narrator in the form of a human. All of her lines are delivered the way an archaeologist or researcher would speak, but there is no passion or excitement being communicated in her voice. And the writers try so hard to keep her alive. How convenient that she wasn't kissed to death by Armanet in the church. How on earth did she survive that? It's not really the actor's fault here. The writing is to blame, and also Tom Cruise for choosing actors in their 20s as his love interest, but mainly the writing. So while Dr. Jekyll introduces himself with a long piece of exposition that I couldn't be bothered to listen to, this whole time it's just him talking. Tom Cruise just has this one-dimensional reaction face. I mean, why is he even in this room? I mean, to be fair, everything Jekyll has just said made no sense, but it's just a very dull way for the main character to express his confusion. So they just locked up the mummy like Tai Lung in Kung Fu Panda. He's doing the face again, I can't believe this. Could they not get an actor with range here? Because that is clearly not Cruise's strength.
This is Flaming Dragon!
Oh, okay, Flaming Dragon. Fuckface. First, take a big step back and literally fuck your own face!
Oh, I was mistaken. He does have range. This movie really could have done with Les Grossman. At least he brings energy to this lifeless bore fest.
Stop it! Stop! Stop! Stop it! Stop!
Yeah, this is not his best performance.
Your language is simple.
How is the mummy even speaking English? She's been locked up for thousands of years, and all of a sudden, without explanation, she conveniently speaks the same language as the people who have stolen her. For some reason, I would have thought that we were at the midpoint of the movie, because the story didn't feel like it was coming to an end, probably because there wasn't one in the first place. But it surprised me when I saw that there were only 30 minutes left, and that was really just going to be some dumb chase scene between Tom Cruise and the mummy. There was no fluency in the structure of the mummy. Cruise never had an objective that he was aiming for with any clarity. He was cursed, so it would make sense that he would be looking for a cure, but his acting is just a stupid face looking like a lost dog throughout the film. One thing I would say as a positive is that they made the hero an unlikable character, which wasn't hard for Cruise to play. And at the end of the movie, nothing really changed. He's still a twat, and I couldn't care less about his fate. The movie suffers from an abundance of exposition. There's too much talking. Sometimes you don't need to explain that Set is in the dagger, which can give the God of War a physical form. You can just show it. It's a lot better if it isn't revealed. That way both the viewer and characters can share the same surprised face and make the experience a lot more fun. And if Jenny the archaeologist knew what power the dagger held, why did she wait until the third act to say it needed to be destroyed? She not only wasted Cruise's time, she wasted the audience's time, therefore my time. Cruise should have just left her for dead at the church. The only actor who gave a good performance with what little material she was given was the actress who played the mummy, Armanet. She has an experience in professional gymnastics and dancing which was not utilised. There was only one really cool sequence where she is tied up in chains and frees herself in a spider-like action. The end of the movie parallels the beginning with Cruise and his military criminal friends seeking adventure. I did not feel relieved to see this character back, nor was I interested in where they're heading. I was more excited for the end credits to roll. I think what really would have hit the nail on the head for this failed universe is if they showed a post-credit scene with Jekyll approaching Cruise and saying, "It's called Avengers Initiative." If this movie had succeeded commercially, I would have still been interested to see what Universal had in store for rebooting these classic monster movies. It would have been cool to see the creature from the Black Lagoon and the Bride of Frankenstein, but Cruise had to butt in and make himself the star. If anything, he should have played the villain in this movie. I mean, his background completely validates this. They should have made Armanet the hero. She could have been on a redemption story after being tricked by the God of War, and must face a new threat in the modern world. She gave the best performance and deserved a sequel just based on her story in ancient Egypt. Unfortunately, the movie suffices to nothing but a typical American disaster, and proves how addicted Hollywood are to franchising every single property they get their hands on. And for that reason, I'm glad The Mummy failed.